Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Javier here with The Real Javier Novoa, a channel, a platform, and a modality where we apply the principles of philosophy, spirituality, mysticism, business, and good planning and freedom, ladies and gentlemen. That's the byword. Freedom to rapid lifestyle transformation. And rapid lifestyle transformation specifically for this phase of this channel means getting you free from the prison grid. Getting you free from a job and a boss within 6 months to a year. In the examples that we're giving in this series on strategic planning, we're going to give it a year to give you the space and to give you the practice room, but it will probably take a lot less time than that. So this channel is all about application, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about sticking to a certain philosophy or to a certain idea. It's about distilling principles from wherever we find them that are sound, that are consistent with empirical evidence on the ground, and applying those to getting you free, ladies and gentlemen. Why freedom? We want you to have freedom so that you can live up to your full potential. And that's not a thing of force, because remember, and this is going to be very germane to this video, because a lot of people are going to react to the words used, and they're not going to penetrate the words to the actual definitions of the words, indeed to the actual vibrational content of the words. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we can use a word to refer to many different senses. That's why the science of logic is so important, because it explains this all. It's a science that's no longer taught in most of our schools. Of course, the elite and the wealthy, they do teach their children this, if they're worth their salt, and in the elite academies. But for the rest of us, they don't teach us logic, and you should study logic, ladies and gentlemen. There are many great books for that, not least of which is A System of Logic by John Stuart Mill, and also the Book of Logic by the great Archbishop from England, whose name escapes me now, but when we remember it, I will put the link in there. It's one that I read many years ago, ladies and gentlemen, and it did change my abilities for critical thinking, for analysis, and so on and so forth. But ladies and gentlemen, the word, what we're saying here, is living up to your full potential. And of course, Abraham Hicks talks about, well, you don't have to live up to your potential. And that's true, because whenever it feels like a struggle, whenever it feels like hard work, then you just drop that and you relax in the aspect of who you truly are, what Neville Goddard called the first principles of be still and know that I'm God. That is the first principle, ladies and gentlemen. But when I'm talking about living up to your full potential, I'm talking about your choice. Another very important word is choice, ladies and gentlemen. Your freedom, your choice, not the choice of others, not the choice of the prison grid, not desires that were imposed from the outside, but desires that either you came in having or that were created in you by this experience, by this metaphysical and physical experience of contrast. I hope you understand me just a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting you free from the prison grid so that you can live your life to your potential and in your choice, ladies and gentlemen. That is the only thing that's sacred. To me, that's the only thing that's sacred, ladies and gentlemen, is living up to your choice. The virtue of selfishness, ladies and gentlemen. We came here as selfish beings. And that's another word that people could misinterpret. Selfishness does not mean a disregard for others. Selfishness does not mean a violation of the right of others. No, far from it. Selfishness means attuning to your own inner compass, which is the only compass that you can have, ladies and gentlemen. Society wants to impose standards from the outside and make you forget about your own guidance system, but the only true standard that matters is the standard that's presented by your guidance system, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little reminder there of the basic principles of this channel. The principles of freedom, the principles of choice, and the principle of selfishness, ladies and gentlemen. So remember, before we go into the nitty-gritty of this video, I'd like to invite you, if you have not already, please subscribe to the channel. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, I might even stop asking for subscribers, because I'm very happy with the small group of people that we have, and even the smaller group, because there's a base of subscribers. There's an even smaller base that watches the videos, and there's an even smaller base than that actually benefits from the videos. And if I can even just benefit with each video 12 people, I will have done my work, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be satisfied with that. 12 is a very energetically significant number. And we can assume that if we have about 40 views on each video, about 12 of those are watching that video through, and or maybe let's say about 20 of those are watching the video through, and about 12 of them actually take the information and implement it. That's enough for me, ladies and gentlemen, but I invite you to subscribe so that you can benefit from the channel, so that you can pull your energy with this growing group of Master Manifestors. It is organically growing. But even, I always say, to help us get the word out. But you know what? I mean, this is just a spontaneous, off-the-cuff thing, but why should I even care about that? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing what I'm doing for selfish reasons. That's right. I'm doing what I'm doing because I enjoy doing it, because I enjoy teaching this material, not least of which I myself benefit from these videos. Because these videos, for me, are like a journaling session, so to speak. And I get a lot of ideas out in this video, or in these videos, that when I go back and watch them, I actually benefit from them, because either writing down or watching or listening, these are both different modalities of learning. And Peter Drucker even said that there are people who learn from writing, there are people who learn from reading, and there are people who learn from listening. And I thought that I was someone who really learned a lot from writing, and I do. Of them. But I've noticed that I benefit a lot from listening, and I benefit a lot from actually just free flow speaking and listening to myself. So you know what? Scratch that. I don't care if you subscribe to the channel, because at this point it doesn't even really matter the number of subscribers we have, because if I can touch the lives of 12 people, and even if I don't do that, if I can just benefit myself from being able to go back and watch these videos, then I will attain what I wanted to attain. So subscribe if you want. It's a great benefit. You'll be connecting to the energetic flow and so on and so forth. A lot of proof has been given for this in the works of the great Dr. Joe Dispenza. But subscribe if you want. I really don't care, okay? So I will give you a moment to subscribe. If you want to subscribe, you can hit the subscribe button below. So thanks a lot for subscribing, to benefit yourself, to benefit us, and it will maybe help us get the word out, but who cares? The people who need to see this will see this. It is law. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was going into freedom, ladies and gentlemen, and this whole strategic planning process that we're laying out here is about freedom. Because I have a fundamental belief and a fundamental tenet that you can be free, that it is possible to be free. And why is it possible? Because as physics tells us, all possibilities exist in the universe, and you can tap in to any of those possibilities at any given time, ladies and gentlemen. So it is possible that you can be free, and indeed you are free on a certain film roll. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've got about 3 questions yesterday about people who are facing situations of restriction, of a seeming lack of freedom in their lives, and situations which they feel trapped in, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, they're so trapped in these situations, and they're so stressed on a daily basis, that almost nothing works. No technique works. And I want to just take a moment, take a video to address these situations and to address the theme of freedom in a new way for this channel. I think in a way that many of you are going to like and many of you are going to be able to benefit from. Because Abraham Hicks is indisputably the master of the law of attraction. Esther Hicks speaks through Esther Hicks. And she covers all of this. And basically she addresses people who, when they get into the hot seat, say, Abraham, we're in situations of great stress, And we cannot feel better no matter what we do. Even if we meditate in the morning, we have to go right back and face those situations. A marriage that you don't want to be in. A family situation. A situation of great, massive debt. Maybe you're hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in debt. And that's hampering your ability to do anything. It's hampering your day to day. We do have an ongoing sort of ministry, if you will, on this channel that's directed toward people who are homeless and who are in prison. And here's the deal with this also. Because people who are in prison and who are homeless, to a certain extent, especially people in prison, they're not even going to be able to benefit from this video today. And that's almost a good thing. And Abraham Hicks talks about this too. Here's why this is a good thing. Because when you're facing a situation that's so huge that you have no rational idea how to solve it, you have to turn off your rational mind because there's no way out, and you know there's no way out. There's no hope. There's no crack of light. And it's in those situations when people go into what we call here in the West shock. And that's a beautiful natural mechanism of the body. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're in a car accident or when you're about to die or you feel like you're about to die, usually that's when what in the East they call enlightenment or satori, or in the West they call like divination or the beatific vision. That's when that happens, ladies and gentlemen. Many times people elect not to come back because once you see perfection and beauty, at that moment, you won't want to come back. Of course, you're going to come back. And we all came here because we don't want to just stay in that state of beatific vision. We want to come back and to expand more. Expansion is the name of the game. That's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. You'll come back. For this experience, I mean. And a lot of times, when you're in a very horrific situation, like prison or even homelessness, with homelessness, there is a way out. In fact, there's an easy way out. We're going into that in other videos. But when you're in prison, there's a way out too. But in order to get there, you have to get to a different film roll. There's really nothing you can do in the physical. Now, sometimes there are things you can do, like you can write letters and so on and so forth for a pardon and things like this. But for some people, that may not be possible. But the reason I'm going into this is because most of you aren't in those two horrific situations, which is prison or homelessness. And if you are, there's ways for you as well. And that way is just to get on the other film roll, to actually totally live in that. That's the way out for these questioners too, to get on another film roll. But the problem is, if your situation is so much in your face, like my hand is in my face, I can close my eyes for a while and I can get back into state. But when I open them, I'm still looking at my hand. I can't get past my hand. There are little rays of light, though, that are coming through my hand. There are little rays of light, ladies and gentlemen, that are coming through, but you don't know how to get there. The best thing that you can do at that time is, of course, what Abraham Hicks talks about. It'll be over in a while. Just let the momentum rush over you. And then, as Abraham Hicks talks about, the universe will conspire at times when you're least expecting it to help you get back into the vortex. And that's back into that state of knowing who you are, and then solutions will come. Well, a little bit better way, or some could say that this is ingrained in the process of just allowing it to wash over you, is to just accept the film roll that you're on first of all. So, if you're in a situation, you're trapped in a box. That could be great debt. That could be you're trapped in a relationship that may be abusive or that maybe you don't want to be in. Or you're trapped in a horrific situation, but you're still not at rock bottom. Well, you need to just go ahead and accept that. I'm in that situation. It's probably not going to get better by itself. And here's where the great tools of freedom and my libertarian training, because ladies and gentlemen, even way before I discovered the law of assumption, law of attraction, of course I knew it intuitively, and I knew that this must be the way, and I knew that I didn't want to work hard, and I wasn't going to work hard, and I knew that no matter what happened, I will eventually get where I want to be. I knew that intuitively, and I knew it spiritually, and I had spiritual experiences, but I did discover the writings and the teachings of libertarianism. I spent many years studying that. Many of you don't know that I studied with the Mises Institute in Alabama, Ludwig von Mises Institute. And of course, I read all of the books and so on and so forth. Well, there was a great book that really struck me, and actually, before I discovered law of assumption, and actually got me on the path towards seeking that, and that was called How to Live Free in an Unfree World by the great Harry Browne, who was a libertarian candidate for president, a very great libertarian author. And there are many ideas in his book that will apply to this channel of getting freed from the prison grid. And the basic idea is that you can do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want. But first, you have to get out of the boxes that you're in. And there's always a price you can pay, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I can hear the law of attraction and law of assumption coaches screaming, there's no price to pay. What are you talking about, Javier? And indeed, there is no price to pay. But as we said at the beginning of the video about words and the definition of words, metaphysically, there's no price to pay because we know how this works. You simply release your resistance and then you allow it to come. But what if the definition of price were to release resistance? Because you pay prices every day. There are prices on the market. You pay that. And every single law of assumption, law of attraction coach who, for example, rents out a hotel to do a conference, they pay a price. So there is a price. But it's not the psychological definition of a price of having to earn it. You don't have to earn anything because you are it and you have it. But you can look at this from the positive perspective. Not that I have to pay a price, but there is a price to pay that can get you out of any box, as Harry Browne called it, and of any situation. And you can journal this about this. And this is one of the perfect things to do. This is a perfect thing to do in your strategic planning situations. You can look at the things that you're trapped in, whether that be financial, whether that be relationships. We're going to give some examples of this. You can actually draw a box. And let's say you're in a relationship that you don't want to be in. You can draw a box. You can say relationship. Then you can ask yourself, what's a price that I can pay to get out of this relationship? Now, there's no perfect silver bullet here because both alternatives hurt. In fact, the reason why you're probably in that relationship is because you don't want to contemplate the price. And you think that the price is going to be more negative. It's going to cause less what we call in economics marginal utility. It's going to yield less marginal utility than the situation that you're in. So therefore you don't make the exchange. But what if you could pay that price and be totally free from the circumstance? This is where you journal, ladies and gentlemen. And okay, you ask yourself, okay, let's say you're in as one of the questioners told me in an email, she's in a relationship that she finds abusive and she wants to get out. But there's a price, isn't it? Because she has her whole living situation paid for, right? So what's the price? The price is I have to drastically downgrade my living situation. Now, she can do that. She has the resources to live in a relatively decent manner, but not in the manner in which she's being kept by the husband. But she has to journal about this. There is a price, and that is that right now I can downgrade my living situation. Now, you have to ask yourself, what's the vibrationally, shall we say, more favorable, what's the vibrationally most favorable alternative? And she has to figure that out for herself. But I'm saying that if you're in a relationship that's negative, every single day you're going to be reminded of that, and you're going to have no energy to create. You're not going to have any energy to meditate. You're not going to have even any energy to get on the other film role. Of course you can do that. It's just going to take more energy, and it might take more time and space. I think the simpler way to do that is to get free. And there is a price you can pay to get free, ladies and gentlemen. In her case, it's to give up some of the opulent living that she's living and move into a simpler environment. She can do that, but she has to know the price. She has to consciously be willing to pay the price and then go ahead and pay that price. There also may be some embarrassment, some negative feelings, some adjustment. And only you can determine what feels better, ladies and gentlemen, because as the Austrian economists have taught us, You cannot measure utility, meaning that you cannot measure the feeling of satisfaction that you get from one thing as opposed to another. You cannot say, well, the feeling of satisfaction I get from staying in the relationship is 2 times more than the feeling of satisfaction I would get if I got out of that relationship. You can't measure it, you just have to know it. And that ties back in with the law of assumption and the metaphysical teachings of knowing. You just have to know it. And you can toggle realities. We talked about this in a previous video. So imagine yourself in the negative relationship that you're in, with all the negative feelings. And then imagine yourself if you were living alone and just some of the context and surrounding of that. And only you'll know which one feels better. And then when you decide which one feels better, do that, commit to that, and then take the next physical action step. If you can't take the step, ladies and gentlemen, take it in your imagination. Imagine that, and either soon you will take the step, or a serendipitous event will happen for you or to you to allow that to happen. That's the law of assumption, the law of attraction at work, ladies and gentlemen. This is paying the price to be free. Now, for our general planning session, our strategic planning sessions, you can get more general with this and say, okay, what's the price that I have to pay now to have a consistent and good testing and practice phase of this planning session, which is going to be the first 6 months of this strategic planning. It's going to be starting on October 3rd. And then you could just journal about that. Okay, maybe I'll have to give up some things that I was going to do. Let's say every night I go out and drink beer with my friends. Well, that might be deleterious to my sitting down and actually starting the strategic planning process. So maybe you might pay that price and see how it feels. It's all about how it feels, ladies and gentlemen. But as we said, there's always a price that you can pay. It's all about your freedom. It's all about your feeling your best. And it's all about positive vibrations so that you can create a masterpiece with your life. It's how to be free in an unfree world, ladies and gentlemen. It's how to be free from the prison grid. It's a commitment. It's a choice. And you have to make it. You have to choose yourself. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, I am doing coaching calls. Those are taking off massively. Many people are benefiting. I can guide you hand by hand on how to get free in very little time, ladies and gentlemen. It really is a lot easier than you think it is. You want an experienced advisor, someone who's experienced in business and consulting in your corner. I can be that person. I will put my email in the description. Until very soon, ladies and gentlemen, until tomorrow, y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy your Saturday night. Going into Sunday, please rest and relax on that day. Meditate, do your strategic planning, and get into the state of what you want to be. It's all about being in state. We'll see you very soon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, bidding you a farewell for tonight.